guys, how you doing? This is Manga, etc. And I'm here today to ultimately bring you my predictions for One Piece manga chapter 1000. But you will see that word milestones integrated within the title, and simply because part of my reasoning for my predictions for 1000th chapter comes from what Oda has done previously when it comes to milestone chapters. Now, when going back and looking at them, I don't think all of them were intentional. Maybe some of them were, maybe. I just wanted to look at that because that goes into what um what I predict, and also something else that I learned about from another YouTuber, how this Wano arc has been following tradition of a kabuki play. And now there's something I learned about kabuki plays, which I will say a bit later on when I get into the actual predictions, which influenced one of my predictions for the 1000th chapter. So beginning a bit of this video is going to be me going through the milestones. So I hope you stick it out to the end. So basically, upon doing the research, I first looked at the first 10th, the 25th, the 50th, the 75th, and 100th chapter of One Piece. And so the first chapter of One Piece that kicks off the series. Now, I don't know if you're like me, you might be like me, and you started off with the anime before picking up the manga. The first chapter of One Piece, essentially Luffy's flashback with Shanks, and that kicked off the series. So that's a good chapter. When you look at chapter 10 now, on the other hand, we are in the buggy arc at chapter number 10, and now pretty just a standard chapter. But for me, there is a very important bit within this chapter where we have Luffy having a speech with Nami. Now, up until this point, Luffy has been seen as pretty much just a goofball, and this is the first time, at least off the top of my memory, I think it's the first time Luffy has a serious moment. And now I can't remember exactly word for word what he was saying to Nami, but it comes at the bit when Buggy asks Nami to kill Luffy, and basically Nami can't go through with it. And Luffy notices this and he's like, yeah, he's basically saying to her, yeah, that's what you get for playing games. Like, there's more pirates right here. That we take things seriously. You got to be serious about this. You got to have a strong will, kind of thing. So for me, that's a very important moment because it shows Luffy being serious for the first time. So within chapter 25, you have Captain Kuro's plan being revealed. Within this chapter, Luffy and Usopp find out Captain Kuro's plan, and this is how you end off the chapter. So you're ending off on a pretty good cliffhanger, thinking just what's going to happen next. And now for chapter 50, now I don't know if this one's intentional or not. I don't think the previous ones were intentional. But chapter 50, chapter leaves off with the cliffhanger of Zoro versus Mihawk. So Zoro versus Mihawk happens in 51. And we leave off with the cliffhanger on 50. And I don't know if that was intentional, but I think it might have been intentional. So within chapter 75 now, we have what I wrote down in my notes as the strength of the fisherman. So this is the first time we're in Arlong Park arc. Up until this point, we are told that fishermen are stronger than humans and blah blah blah. But I think this is the first time you actually see it with the officers of Arlong's crew. So that would have been Chu, the guy with the multiple limbs, and the guy that Sanji fights. But this is the first time you get a display of their strength, seeing how easily they take out a bunch of the Marines, and it makes you wonder, are the Straw Hats going to be able to beat them, kind of vibe. So that's what you get in 75. Now, in chapter 100 of One Piece, this is Dragon's introduction, and now on the first read, it would have been seen as a standard chapter. So I call this a later payoff chapter because it's not until way later, after Water 7, after Enies Lobby, that Garp reveals that this was actually Luffy's dad. So maybe chapter 1000 will be paying off something that's happened off later previously, and that we won't see coming. That's my thinking about it. So after I looked at those chapters, I then decided to look at chapters 250, 500, and 750. So 250 is Skypiea, and is basically the highlight of that chapter is the end of Luffy, Sanji versus Satori, where you have Luffy, he's got Satori, and then you just have Sanji there just chilling in the ball. He just sparking up. He's like, yeah, Luffy, hold him. Let me just spark this up quick, and then I'm gonna deal with it. So that was a good strong good chapter there. Ended off a nice fight. Not much really going on other than that. Chapter 500, on the other hand, the first time you see Rayleigh. Yeah, chapter 500, first time you see Rayleigh. And now 750, again, kind of random for me anyway, personally, but 750 is Dressrosa, and the cliffhanger of this chapter is Sabo versus Fuji. So you could say that's the height moment. Intentional, probably not, but that's where we leave off. So after I did that, I decided to look at 200, 300, 400, 600, 700, 800, 900. Yeah. So with 200, that chapter, the start of Crocodile versus Luffy 2, the Water Luffy, one there. 300, we have when Enel heads off to the moon. So again, I'll call this a later payoff chapter because it is possible that the moons will be heavily involved later on within the series. It is possible that Enel comes back. Maybe 4,000? I don't know. I think that is a payoff later chapter. So with 400 now, chapter 400, this is Enen's lobby, and this is the chapter where the Straw Hats finally break into the Tower of Law and on the pursuit of taking out CP9. That all kicks off in chapter 400. And now with chapter 600, I want to call this a random chapter, but it's just as at the start of the time skip. And within this chapter, Book does announce that Straw Hat Luffy is just alive. Now, that's not big for us, because obviously we knew that, he didn't die and everything, but it's big for everybody within the One Piece, where it's like, wow, but Luffy's alive, still alive kind of thing. So, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's a reach. But anyway, chapter 700, sorry. We have the news spread of Luffy and Law's alliance, news spread of Kid and his alliance, and Luffy leaving Warlords, and now also Dolphy having the Marimara Nomi. So all of that was announced in chapter 700. Definitely intentional by Oda. There's no way he did not plan for all his reveals within that. That was a big chapter with a lot going on. So with 800 now, we have the birth of the Grand Fleet. And the Straw Hat Grand Fleet was born in chapter 800. Again, I think that this was an intentional, intentional thing done by Oda. So chapter 900 now, and the last final one I'm going to talk about is Big Mom eats the cake. The Big Mom eats the cake within this chapter, and the chapter actually does leave off with the Straw Hat flag within the water. So it does leave off in a very good cliffhanger, because I remember when reading this chapter, I'm pretty sure, and obviously I didn't think they would the Straw Hats were dead, but I was thinking, what happened to their ship? Why is their flag on the floor? So that was a really good cliffhanger for that. So for the most part, unintentional or not, most milestone chapters do leave off on a good cliffhanger, or something good has happened within this chapter. And Oda has previously stated that 1000 is coming up. I need it to be good, so I definitely think it will be a good chapter. So let me now tell you what I learned about Kabuki plays, and how I think how it relates into how then later on you'll see how it relates into my predictions, some of my predictions I should rather say. So basically, the Wano arc has been an act, and this is the same thing with Kabuki plays. There's usually acts within the Kabuki play. I can't remember how many acts exactly, but so far the Wano arc has been following this tradition, and now if it continues to following this tradition, what I learned about Kabuki plays is that the third act, which is the act that we are currently in, usually ends in tragedy tragedy, sorry. So that will lead on into my predictions. So let's get into my predictions for the one foul and also my wants for the one foul chapter of One Piece. So I will go through some things that I think are unlikely slash don't want to happen, and then I'll try and build up to what I want exactly 100% definitely to happen. So for chapter one foul, I think it is possible that we have a fight start and finish within this chapter from a minor Straw Hat member. And I say minor, I mean obviously the weekend trio or the mid trio, but we're not looking at, Sanji, Zoro, Jinbe, and Luffy. Obviously, these guys, it is possible that they could have a fight and finish it, but I think that is very unlikely, especially for chapter one foul. So we could also have the start of a commanders fight. So Queen versus someone, obviously Sanji, Zoro, or Jinbe, or King versus either Sanji, Zoro, or Jinbe. That could start up within chapter one foul. But again, I think that's something that's unlikely. More likely than a lower member fighting, but something that is still just a tad bit unlikely. So if we go with the notion that Wano arc has been following the structure of a Kabuki play, and the third arc is to end in tragedy, sorry. This is some of the things that I think could happen. So not only, so it could be tragedy on many parts. So for one, I have noticed that all the arcs have been finishing with stuff that's happened outside of Wano. Arc one ended with the Gecko versus BB stuff. Like Gecko goes over to BB to get back his crew member. BB offering Gecko to join his crew, but is there. And while he is there, that bit tells us that how right now within the referee, revolutionaries are fighting off against the admirals. Within Act Two, at the end of Act Two, more was told to us. We have the whole reveal of Sword, the whole thing with Sabo and just what's going on with him right now. The whole thing with King Cobra and what was going on with him. We have finding out that Shichibukai have been disbanded, and so right now all the Marines are going towards capturing them. We find out a little bit about the Rocks Pirates and the whole thing that how Whitebeard, uh, Big Mom, and Kaido were all part of that crew. We found out the bounties of the Yonko. So again, at the end of Act 2, we do find out a lot of heavy information. Maybe, just maybe, if 1000 is chapter 1000 is to mark the end of the act, then we'll go that route and we'll find out something that has happened from outside of Wano, i.e., something to do with Sabo maybe, or there's something else along those regards. It doesn't have to be a tragedy moment, but there is a hint of tragic stuff happening there, so you could follow suit with that and happen there. But I do think if 1000 is to end off the Wano arc, we will probably skip away from Wano and find out some information that's going on out there. So another prediction for chapter one foul could be Luffy. It doesn't just have to be Luffy, but I reckon Luffy would definitely be there as well. So for example, let's say we have Luffy, Killer, Kid, because they're together, and shoot, I don't know, let's just throw in Zoro there, and shoot, I don't know, we'll throw in Law in there as well. They finally make it up to where Kaido is. Uh, they're about to stare him down. Luffy's wondering what's happened to the scabbards, and we found out all. I think all is a reach. If not all, like a few, I think a few is a reach as well. But let's just say one. Let's say Kinemon, because Kinemon is the first one we're introduced to. So all of these guys make it to the top, and we find out that Kinemon is dead. That would be a tragic moment and a good way to end off chapter 1000 and also the act as well. To find out Kinemon's, so follow the theme of anything's off of tragedy. Only problem with that for me is that I don't really want that. I don't really want it to end off with the death of one of the scabbards, because if that's to be the highlight of the chapter, then no. For me, the scabbards haven't had enough screen time for me to be fully invested in any of them. So I would not want that to be the highlight of the chapter. It can happen within the chapter, fair enough, but therefore do not want it to be the highlight. Luffy, Law, and Kid starting things off with with fighting Kaido. So eventually, I do believe will be all the supernovas, all the worst generations, all the rookies there present against to finish off Kaido. But I do see it starting off with those three, and they could possibly. I doubt Law has Conqueror's Haki. We do know that Kid and Law has it. It's starting off with them having like a Conqueror's moment, and Luffy, Kid, and Kaido's Yonkos clashing. It could cause a rift in the sky like we've seen previously with two other Yonkos clashing. Maybe something not that big a scale, maybe something smaller. But I do see it being a possibility for a fight between these three starting off with Kaido. So I guess that leads me to my last prediction that I can think of, and that is Luffy versus Kaido 2. So I would love for the whole chapter to be Luffy versus Kaido 2, with Luffy losing a second time. I do think there is a possibility that Luffy fights Kaido and loses a second time, and that could be the quote unquote tragedy for the chapter. So I probably could go on thinking of smaller things, thinking of other things that I could think could happen. But I think for me personally, the ones that I have mentioned are the ones that I think are most likely to happen. So yeah, other ones for the chapter, little minor details that that could be thrown in there as well. It's something like let's make 1000 chapter 1000 a double chapter. I would love that. Instead of the standard, what do we get? 20 pages? I would love a 40-page chapter, 40 to 50. But I know that's probably asking a lot. So I would settle for a 1.5 chapter, a chapter and a half. I would settle for that. I would love that. But in all honesty, I would really like if I really want chapter 1000 to be longer than the average chapter. I think I'm just going to leave the video there now. I've got a few thoughts out, hopefully. But if you've managed to stick it to the end, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. But I'm asking for your thoughts and opinions, like always. So if you have any predictions I didn't list down, please let me know. We could discuss it in the comment sections, and just let me know what you think on my predictions as well. Also, if you haven't already, check out some of my One Piece what ifs. I highly recommend What If Luffy Never Ate the Gama Gama no Mi. Now, that may seem pretty straightforward, especially to you hardcore fans. You probably know the place right off the bat on where Luffy would actually die. That's why I put a little bit of a twist on that one. So that's why I recommend that one the most. But check out. There's other ones as well, so check them out. They'll all be advertising themselves in the end cards for your pleasure. So like always, guys, I'm asking for your thoughts and opinions. If you haven't already, please go to my YouTube channel. But most importantly, take care. Have a nice day.